you'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Charlie Chaplin. It's incredible how one small sentence can carry a lifetime of truth, and yet these words, spoken by a man who made the world laugh during some of its darkest moments, still echo today, quietly reminding us that no matter what life takes from you, no matter how broken you feel, no matter how many things have gone wrong, there is still something worth holding on to. There is still something worth living for. And it starts with a smile. Not a forced one, not a mask to hide the pain, but the kind of smile that rises from a quiet decision deep inside. I will not let this world steal the light from me. Chaplin, who knew suffering, poverty, and loss, chose to keep smiling. He didn't do it because life was easy. He did it because smiling, even through tears, was a small, brave act of hope. And maybe that's exactly what you need right now. Not a big solution, not someone to fix everything, just a reminder that life is still worthwhile, and you are still here. Sometimes that's enough. You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. At first glance, it might sound almost naive, like something you'd see printed on a coffee mug or a cheap greeting card. But stop for a second. Let the words sink in. Life is still worthwhile. Chaplin didn't say life is always happy. He didn't say everything will work out. He didn't even say you should smile because everything is fine. He said, even when life is falling apart, there's still something beautiful in it. And if you can manage, just for a moment, to smile, you'll start to see it. That smile isn't about pretending. It's about surviving. It's about choosing light, even when everything around you feels like darkness. Let's be honest. We live in a world that wears people down. A world where grief is silenced, kindness is rare, and stress never sleeps. It's hard to smile when you're carrying 1,000 invisible weights, and yet there's a different kind of strength in those who can look at the broken pieces and still find a reason to keep going, a reason to lift the corners of their mouth and whisper to themselves, I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I still matter. That's not weakness, that's not delusion, that's emotional courage. It's saying, I see the pine, I feel it, but I won't let it close my heart. Chaplin's words remind us that a single smile, even the smallest, faintest one, can be an act of rebellion against despair, a declaration that hope is not dead, that maybe, just maybe, something good still exists on the other side of this. How do you smile when you're tired of pretending you're okay? How do you find life worthwhile when it keeps knocking you down again and again? Charlie Chaplin's words aren't a call to fake happiness. They are an invitation to look closer, to shift your attention, to stop staring only at what's broken and start noticing what's still breathing. Let's look at a few real-life moments where this idea can change the way we carry pain. 1. When grief hits you out of nowhere. Maybe someone you love is gone. A parent, a friend, a relationship, a future you planned. There are days when the world looks gray. Nothing feels worth doing. And it seems wrong to smile, like smiling would mean you're forgetting. But what if smiling is how you remember? What if, in your quietest moment, you let one memory come through? A moment of laughter, of warmth, of love. And in that memory, you allow yourself to smile. Not despite your grief, but because of it. Because that smile says, they mattered, and they still live in me. That is sacred. 2. When you're exhausted from trying, you've been strong for so long, working hard, holding the family together, fighting your battles silently. And one day you look in the mirror and wonder, is this it? That's when a smile isn't about joy. It's about resistance. It's about refusing to let life turn you numb. Smile because you're still showing up. Because even if nobody claps for you today, you still got up. You still tried. And that effort is worth honoring. 3. When your heart has been broken, love ended, trust was lost. You gave your best, and it wasn't enough for them. And now the silence is loud. The nights are heavier, and the question keeps returning. Will I ever be okay again? Start with a small smile, even a fake one. Not because you're ready, but because that simple act can shift your body, your breath, your perspective. A smile, even if it hurts, tells your soul, we're not done yet. You're still here, still worthy of joy, still able to love again. 4. When life feels empty, dull, meaningless, the routine, the bills, the waiting. Sometimes life feels like an endless loop. But here's the secret. You don't have to wait for something big to happen before you smile. You can smile at the sunlight on your hands, at a child's laugh in the distance, at the way your coffee warms your palms, at the sound of your favorite song, just as it hits that perfect line. These aren't distractions. They're reminders that life is still happening, still offering you beauty in the smallest, quietest ways. You just have to notice it. And sometimes that noticing begins with a smile. Her name was Lucia. She was 61 years old, a quiet woman with tired hands and soft eyes that used to shine brighter before the world slowly wore them down. Lucia had lost a lot. Her husband passed away suddenly 5 years ago. Her only son moved across the country and rarely called. She had friends, yes, but most days felt like silence was her only companion. She lived in a small apartment, surrounded by framed photos and soft music playing on the old radio. Her routine was the same every day. Coffee at 6:30, watering the plants, a slow walk to the corner store, then back home. She smiled at people, but inside, she felt invisible. One rainy afternoon, as she was sitting by the window, watching the water slide down the glass, she whispered to herself, I don't know why I'm still here. No one heard her, but her soul did. The next morning, Lucia made a quiet decision. She didn't know what to change. She didn't have the energy for big things. But she could start with one thing. She would choose to smile every time she felt like giving up. Not for anyone else, not to hide, but to remind herself that there was still something inside her that wanted to live. So she smiled at the cashier, who barely looked up. She smiled at the birds on her windowsill. She smiled at her own reflection in the mirror, even when her eyes were swollen from crying. And something subtle began to shift. One day, a little girl from the building waved at her from the stairs. Lucia waved back, smiling softly. The next day, the girl came and knocked on her door, asking if she could help water the plants. Then came the mother. Then came a neighbor who needed help sewing a curtain. Then came someone who asked for her recipe. Then someone who invited her to a church service. Lucia didn't do anything dramatic. She just kept smiling, gently, silently, daily. And slowly life started to smile back. Not because her grief disappeared, not because everything got fixed, but because she opened a small door in her heart, and the world walked in. Lucia's smile wasn't fake. It was quiet bravery. It said, "I'm still here. And maybe life is still beautiful. After all, there will be seasons in your life that feel empty, where the colors fade, where joy feels distant, where even breathing feels like work. And in those moments, you may not need more advice. You may not need a miracle. You may just need a reason to keep your heart open." Charlie Chaplin didn't tell us to smile because everything is fine. He told us to smile because life is still worthwhile, even when it hurts, even when it's quiet, even when you feel forgotten. And that smile, it doesn't have to be bright. It doesn't have to convince anyone. It just has to be real. A choice, a whisper of hope, a gentle nudge that says, not everything is lost. Not yet. Because the truth is, a smile can't fix the everything. It won't erase the past. It won't stop the pain. But it can change the moment. It can soften the heart. It can open the door to something new, even if it's small. So when you don't know what else to do, when you're tired, numb, or overwhelmed, try this. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe in deeply. And, even if it trembles, let yourself smile, just for a second. Because maybe that second is where healing begins. And maybe, just maybe, life will meet you there. If something in this message touched your heart, if today you needed to be reminded that life is still worthwhile, even in its quiet, imperfect, fragile way, then I invite you to do just one thing. Smile. Not for me, not for anyone else, just for you. Because you're still here. And that means your story isn't over yet. If you feel like sharing, tell me in the comments below. What made you smile today, even if just for a moment? Your words might remind someone else that they're not alone. And if you know someone who's going through a hard time, someone who's lost their spark, who's tired, who's quiet, send this video to them. It might be the soft light they didn't know they needed. And if you'd like to walk this path of gentle wisdom with me, if you want more messages that bring peace, strength, and healing, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Not just to watch more videos, but to remind yourself again and again that in a world that rushes and forgets, you still matter, and life is still worthwhile if you just smile.